Hey, everybody. Welcome to the AVer Fireside Chat webinar. We're going to let everybody start jumping in, give everybody a little bit of time here. Hope you're having a great Wednesday. You know, this is. I don't know if you have this, Carl. You got a bunch of kids like I do. For us in my house,
A bunch?
yeah, I have
Yeah,
six. That's a bunch.
you have like a basketball team.
I do. I got to start a basketball team. I'm pretty good at that. Right? But I don't know about you, but I've had all my kids, and everybody sees the Winnie the Pooh book. At our house, nobody calls it Wednesday. It's Wednesday from Winnie the Pooh. I don't know if you remember that. I like it's Wednesday Pooh. So I was just, something a little bit. It's just one of those things that every family has their own little, things that they say. That's kind of ours in this house.
Yeah, no, that's one of the things we always try to do is like read to our kids and stuff like that at night before they go to bed. I tried doing it the other day to my oldest. He looked at me all weird because he's 17. Hadn't done it in a long time. He's like, get out of here.
Wait, I got something better.
I'm like, no, son, we're gonna read Cat in the Hat. Okay.
Oh, once again, I don't know how many people know this, but yeah, I have once again I have 6 kids. My kids age and range from 28 to 8. So I'll be working till the day I die, and then probably another 5 years after that, just to keep up with everything. But I got this. My son who's 25 years old in the Army. He's in Kentucky right now. He sends me a message, and it's like it's a Corvette, and it's just him sitting in a Corvette revving the engine. I'm like, hey, that looks cool. You're looking for a test drive, right? No, Pops, I just bought it. I was like, oh man, dude, I just feel my hair falling out even more. I feel the gray hair is getting grayer. Like, let me make sure I got this straight. 25 years old, in the Army, in Kentucky, and you're buying a Corvette. Wow, like that's not going to give me heart palpitations. I'm just kind of saying it's.
So he bought it in Kentucky?
Bought it in Kentucky. In Kentucky.
Wow. And when he's done, he's going to move back to California, isn't he? When he's.
Yeah, you know what? He actually wants to move to Colorado or Utah, which is where.
Well, that'll be a nice drive, though.
Oh yeah. But 20. Can you imagine? I know what my car insurance is. Can you imagine a 25-year-old car insurance with a Corvette? A Corvette?
Oh yeah.
I mean, man, that has to be insane. So, if anybody else on the call has any issues like that, please feel free to jump in and chat. Because if you know car insurance of what it's going to cost a 25-year-old for a Corvette, let me know. Needless to say, he's a 25-year-old that when he drove to Detroit originally, he got a ticket for driving too slow.
Oh, so, driving too slow.
In Vegas. He was in Vegas. He was driving on the freeway in Vegas. And he had a Mustang at a time, a 2005 Ford Mustang GT that I bought him.
Yeah.
Had him packed with all of his stuff. He's driving and he's in the left lane on a 2-lane highway. And a cop came behind him and he didn't let the cop pass because the cop was just there. So the cop pulled him over for slowing traffic. Like, really? I was slowing traffic.
That's interesting.
You're in Vegas. They're going to bust you at the craps table. They're going to bust you.
they're going to get the money out of you.
They're going to get you on the freeway. Either way, they're going to figure out how to get you. So, hey, we have some more people jumping on the call. So we're going to start in probably about a minute or two here. So once again, just having our normal chat. Today, we're going to be talking really about where video conferencing is at today, what we're seeing in the industry today, what we're seeing in the marketplace today, right? I think there's a lot of interesting things that are going on. Obviously, us at AVer, we're a part of it, but I think overall we're seeing a lot of interesting things take place. So we're gonna give it one more minute. We'll start at 11:04. So.
Actually, that kind of brings up a great little side point there. Let me ask you a question. When you're starting your meetings, whether they're sales calls, business development calls, internal calls, what kind of starting off side questions do you usually ask nowadays? For me, it's usually, hey, do you see businesses opening up? I kind of gather that data every time I'm in a call. I mean, it's one of those lead off questions I usually have with customers, with everyone else. What kind of questions do you ask, Charlie?
You know what? I ask some of the same. I ask what their opening plan is, right? What is your plan for opening? How are you seeing it? And I'll tell you, it really is different all the way around. And I definitely want to go into that on this call quite a bit because I've seen different sides of the spectrum coming out to where some people are like, not really sure. Other people are like, hey, July 5th, you better be here. You need to be here, right? That's all there's.
Yeah.
You're going to be here, right? So it's interesting. It really is interesting to see. So with that, I'll tell you what. Let's get it started. And I think once again, thank you everybody for joining us today. We really do appreciate it. We hope this time is worthwhile for you. Our goal is to try and just give you some information on what we're seeing in the marketplace today, what we're hearing from customers, what we're hearing from partners, what we're hearing from service providers today, and end users. So, Carl, I think you let off with a good point. So let's talk about that today, right? Obviously, everybody, we're still in a pandemic right now. And for the most part, the majority of enterprise business and corporate businesses are closed. Yes, retail is open. Yes, fast food restaurants are open. Grocery stores are open. But for the most part, I think the typical, what we figure is corporate America today, is still in a work from home environment. So one thing that I know Carl asks every time I'm on a call with him, and I've been asking him more and more is, what's your opening plan? What are you looking to do? What are you looking to accomplish? And I'll tell you, I've seen very different sides of the coin. I see a lot of companies today aren't really sure. They aren't really sure because their employees aren't sure what they want. I have some companies today that I'm talking to where they say, hey, we're going to have a mixed environment where people are going to be working from home anywhere from 20% to 50% of the time, and then in the office the rest. I have other people that are sitting there telling me, hey, look, you know what, come July 5th, I want to see their rear ends back in their seat at their office, because that's how we communicate. That's how we've always communicated, and we've always worked together. That's what's made us successful. So I think when I look at the video conferencing industry and what we're doing today in the UC industry, it really is a matter of understanding of how can we meet all those needs, right? How can video conferencing, how can desktop conferencing, how can that work from home environment and that corporate environment mesh together to make sure we can take care of everybody's needs? And I think it's interesting to see, right? I mean, let's start off on the work from home environment. I think there's been a slew of products that have hit the streets since January 1st of this year, right? We've seen competitors launch new products for work from home. We've seen AVer launch products for new work from home applications. I think you're going to continue to see that, because I think work from home is going to be a big deal. I think what I'm happy about seeing, and I'm going to say I'm a little proud about seeing this as well, is that I feel we're starting to see a class of cameras come out that we've never seen before, right? And Carl, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but for the longest time, we saw that work from home was it's a simple webcam. It's anywhere from a $30 to $110 webcam that you put on the screen. It might have a microphone on it, it might not, but it's the same webcam that my kids use, right? It's the same webcam that we call Nana with, right? Just to get on a call so she can see the kids. I think what we're starting to see now is that next class of webcams, that enterprise work from home webcams, right? If you look at AVer, we call it our Cam 130, right? There are some other products that are on the market as well. Those are cameras that are designed to make your work from home experience better and actually match what you'd normally get from being in the office, right? And I'm really happy to see that the entire marketplace is moving towards that, because I think customers are asking for that, right? When we started looking at this camera for that enterprise class of webcam, we wanted a camera that can give you the best quality video, the best audio, and we wanted to include lighting into it, because we knew lighting was really important in it, right? And I can't tell you how many times I turn on, CNBC and watch Kramer and all the different business shows, and you're looking at those CEOs, and I'll tell you, it's hard sometimes. It's harsh.
I've seen whole news hours in which the anchors in a really poor scenario, a really poor situation.
Like, you guys couldn't have bought a real good camera? Come on now. I mean, what are you doing? And I think that's where this new class of cameras are going to launch and be really successful. Because for me, I'm an executive, right? I'm a VP of sales. I want to make sure that I am showing myself that way, that when I'm talking to customers, when I'm talking to resellers, when I'm talking to partners, that they're seeing me in that way. I need to portray that. The way I look, the way I act, the way that you see me, the way that you hear me, that has to relate to being an executive. That has to give off the best quality possible. Just like if I was in my conference room in Fremont, California.
Yeah.
If I'm walking in that office room, I'm going to demand that I have great quality. Why wouldn't I demand that same quality at home? But I mean, Carr, I think you're seeing pretty much the same thing, right?
Yeah, I'm saying the same thing, and it's interesting because when everything first hit off and first started, everybody was scrambling to just get something because sometimes they would have a camera embedded within their laptop, sometimes they wouldn't, and essentially it was a scramble to put everything together. I think a lot of workforce, as well as teachers, students, they're able to get some kind of lens on their desk at home now. But I think we're going to see a second wave come in which people are going to want that better quality. And you look at the vendors out there, or the providers who are actually making things. Like Zoom's coming out with the smart gallery. Other technology leaders are making things to grab an image, manipulate it, and make it look better on the screen. But that's going to take processing power. And a lot of the leading manufacturers out there, or the camera manufacturers like us, for instance, we are trying to make that computational power on the camera end and not so much on the cloud itself. And it's an interesting mixture right now when you see it. So it's fun to see with the whole marketplace. But like you said, the differentiator, just having a great image, I think that's becoming a standard now. Kind of like with cars, for a while you could buy a car and get air conditioning in it, and you're like, ooh, that's a fancy feature. Now it's like every car better have air conditioning. It's part of the standard for the basic package. So
I definitely agree with you. And once again, Southern California, if my car in my house doesn't have air conditioning, I'm in trouble. So that's just, you got to have that. You got to have that.
Yeah.
But I bring up the work from home because I do feel work from home is going to be part of the new norm. Maybe not 100%, maybe not even 50%, but a percentage of the time people are going to want to be able to work from home. And corporate America, enterprise companies are going to want to standardize on the best practices. Now, we're already seeing a lot of people today. We're seeing a lot of companies today that are actually building out specific budgets just for work from home. If you're a manager level, here's the budget that you get to do for work from home. If you're a director level, here's the budget. VP, executive, CEO. Well, CEO, we know their budget's unlimited. But at the end of the day, it's building the budgets based on what those people's needs are. And once again, the goal is to make sure that they're presenting themselves in the best quality possible. And I will say this even for us, we strive to make sure. I get on my team quite a bit. I know I was on a call today where there was so much outdoor lighting coming on that call, I couldn't even see people's faces. You got to make sure that you're putting yourself in the best lighting possible. You got to make sure that you're presenting yourself the best way possible. And I think that's what we're going to start to see with this enterprise class camera do. And I'm extremely proud that AVer was one of the first ones to come out with it. The Cam 130, without a doubt, is one of the first enterprise class work from home type of camera. So happy to do it, happy to be a part of that, happy to see that other people are also seeing that this is going to be a big trend as well. Give me 1 second. I got one question. Since I came from broadcast, TV and lighting guy and camera, I love the lighting feature of the camera with her. Thank you. We appreciate it. I will tell you, I can't tell you how many people have come to us and said, yes, lighting's a big deal. It really is. And being a guy in video for close to 20 years now, yeah, it is a big deal. You have no idea how important lighting is until you don't have lighting in your room. Then it's a big deal. So work from home, like I said, we know that's going to be a play. The next question really comes down to, what is corporations going to look like? What are the offices going to look like? And I think this is where there's a lot of, I don't want to say confusion, but uncertainty is a word that I'm going to use, right? Because in the world that we're at today, where we still have to have distance or social distancing, where we still have to understand how are we going to go back to business. And I think this is going to fall on HR and facilities more than anybody else. I think the IT guys are going to get lucky in this. This is going to be a facilities thing. This is going to be an HR thing that they have to figure out how to do it. It's going to come down to, Do I have a huddle room anymore? Right? And if I do, how many people are in that huddle room?
Yeah.
How about that conference room that we used to cram in 30 or 40 people to? We've all had that room. Every company has that one conference room with the 30-foot table that fits 20 people around it, and you're packing the outside, right?
You're packing it with
Executives are
50
all-
people. People
oh,
are sitting down, people are standing up, people are walking in late, sitting on the floor. Those are
Without a doubt.
the all hand meetings for departments and or for groups. Yeah.
Yes. Are you going to have that room anymore? Is it ever going to be able to have that many people in the room anymore? The answer most likely is going to be no, right?
Yeah.
I will tell
At least
you
not
this
in the next 3 years.
Yeah, without it. I will tell you one thing that I keep on seeing more and more, and Carl, you can talk to this as well. We are having more partners come to us requesting AI technology, asking for AI feature sets to identify how many people are in a room,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah. To do people counting.
Even so to where it might not be in a video call, right? How can we sit there and look at the room? How can we monitor the room? How can we make sure that we have a certain limit on what is in that conference room, right?
Yeah.
Because it makes sense. If I got a conference room that by COVID limitations should only have 6, I need to ensure I only have 6. And the camera being one part of that puzzle that actually captures everything can help out with that, right? Carl, you want to touch on that a little bit? Because I know you're at the front of that. You're seeing and hearing a lot about that.
Yeah, I mean, because it's a situation where IT departments are trying to figure out what they should do and what guidelines to follow. And as I interview customers, talk with customers, I could tell you right now they are looking at breaking up those conference rooms and establishing video in more conference rooms, but definitely not having as much people in there. But another aspect for it as well is going on what you said about the non-technical pieces of it, but is the sanitation part. How do they ensure that the conference room is going to be sanitized for the next group of people coming in? It's like with restaurants, you have the protocols now for sanitation to come in. And that's why for a lot of our products, we started, spraying that antimicrobial spray on there to let people know, hey, you know what, this is going to help you with that check mark of not having to wipe down every single little thing at, every time. Are you still going to have to wipe things down? Well, most likely, you would, but it'll help with that peace of mind for it. So those are different aspects I noticed that a lot of companies are talking about as well. They are definitely not allowing as many people into the conference rooms and being more spaced out. But like what I mentioned before with adaptive image processing and AI features, they're really hoping now to seat people separately from each other, but digitally put them together within a conference room. And so you see it within Teams, within Zoom. And they're doing a great job with the image manipulation and getting that done, but that means that you would probably need more cameras in the conference room.
Definitely. And actually, no, we just had a question pop up, and I'll tell you, it was something that I was going to lead into as well, right? It said, I'd like to see AI handle built-in active speaker tracking for education use to track students asking questions. I think what you're going to start to see is more and more technology like that come out. Now let me say this as well. One thing that we learned during the COVID times is different tracking somebody in the normal world. Charlie has 2 eyes, he has a nose, he has a mouth, he has 2 ears, right? Cameras were built. AI technology was built to understand that was a person. Come the COVID times, now you have a mask on. How do I recognize that person? How do we pick them up, right? And even active speaker tracking can be affected by that. How do I know who's talking? There's I'll say, there's been some great products in the market that worked great pre-COVID. Post-COVID, they don't hold the same kind of stature,
Yep.
Mainly because of the fact that they were so focused on looking for lips moving, looking for people talking. I don't feel that you're ever going to get back to have a room 100% cleared of masks, right? I think there's a lot of cultures out there that have adopted masks whenever they're sick. I'm on many calls, even before COVID, when people would jump on a video call with me, and because I talk to countries all around the world, they'd have a mask on because somebody was sick. It was kind of the norm, right?
Yeah.
I think you're going to start to see that migrate to the US a little bit more often. I think people are going to be a little bit more conscious of that. So in a conference room or in a classroom, how do I pick that up? That's something that the technology that we're working on today for. And I'll say this as well. A lot of the big steps that we're making in this are things that we're doing because now chipsets are getting much more higher end. And I'll point to Qualcomm as one of them, right? I look at some of the Qualcomm chipsets that are out there, and what I'm hearing that we can do with them that are amazing, and it's great. It's awesome when technology ideas can match up with technology and chipset availability. When those two match each other, great things happen. And I think you're going to start to see that over the next 18 to 24 months. I think you're going to start to see a lot better of the AI feature sets being able to pick up voice tracking, being able to pick up what we're doing today as zone tracking, right? We know people are talking in that area. We're going to zoom in on that area, right? Preset zone tracking. We're going to do things that help us get rid of the remote control because people don't want to touch things anymore. Going back to as Carl was saying, I got to wipe things down. I got to clean them off. If I can get people to touch less things, I don't need to clean it off as much. It's a lot more sanitary. It's a lot safer. So I think what you're going to see people do, and I think what you're going to see our industry start to do, is get to that point where the AI technology can help get away from a lot of the remote controls. I actually just saw another question pop up.
Oh, that's a good question.
Maybe you
Yeah,
said
that's a good question.
How do you get people to be required to have their video cams on during the meeting? I think most people feel better connection with people and the conference. It's more engaging when the attendees are visible when you speak to them. Does it just made to be a corporate mandate for VC? I will tell you this. I have now been in video for almost 20 years. And the hardest thing ever to do is to get people to buy in to video, right? I'll tell you this, and I'll also say it's a generational thing, right? My kids don't talk on the telephone or on their cell phone. They're doing FaceTime calls. They're doing all these different types of, Skype, what you name it, right? All the different things that you get on your phone to talk. But it's all video calls today. They're used to it. My generation still isn't completely bought into it. And I do believe it does take a corporate mandate. Corporations need to step up and say, hey, if you're on a call, I need to see you. I won't name the name of the community college district that I work with, but I work with one of the largest community college districts in the world. And they put a mandate out there, and this was 12 years ago, to get rid of all speakerphones in the conference rooms and change them to video conferencing rooms. They made sure every conference room no longer had just an audio speakerphone. They made sure that it had a video conferencing system in it. Now, this was back in the H.323 days, right? The reason why they did that is because they wanted to change the culture. They felt people were too nervous talking over an audio call and not knowing who's on the other side, right? If I'm talking to you over audio, I have no idea who's on that other side. But if I look on that call and video, I can see everybody there, right? So that's really been one of the big changes over video. Now, I'll say this as well. I still have people at this company that don't like, don't like turning on their video. They just don't. They just don't, for a lot of reasons, right? I think working from home is one part of that. Some people don't have a great environment to work from home, right? Yeah. They really don't. But I'll give Zoom and Microsoft a lot of credit. They've done a lot of the background blending. They've done a lot of the background masking. And even I'll say, some of the different, background screens that you can put on to make you look really good. But I think a lot of people still are very concerned about how they're presenting themselves.
Oh no, that's a big one. That's a huge one. And honestly, I mean, to answer your question, when I look at that, because I mean, I've worked at a couple of companies from the IT perspective, and a big portion of my job was for video adoption. How much adoption did you have at your corporation. And that's actually a really good metric as well to figure out, from your provider, hey, how many people turned on cameras in our meetings, and document that. Because as as an IT manager or video network manager, you look at it from you providing a product to your customers. That's actually a really good metric to figure out and measure how well am I doing with my own video conferencing at my own company. And we used to track that metric of how many meetings did the camera turn on. And there is you could always do some change management to encourage people to go out there. I've noticed that change management, giving tutorials, webinars internally, documentation to say like, here's how you turn your camera on. But another thing what Charlie was saying, you got to make yourself look good. If people look at themselves in the camera, they're like, oh, I don't look good, I'm gonna turn it off. It's one of those things where, every time there's a group photo, who's the first person you look for? Yourself. Because you're conscious of how you look and are presented to others. So with that in mind, having a good quality camera, lighting, very important, as well as background, making sure that your background's not embarrassing. And I'm sorry, I'm just going to do this, but I'm in a closet right now. I put curtains so I can have a professional background. If I pull this back, there's shoes back there. So it's really important.
Those are all his shoes. Those are like his entire collection of like Nike
they're high heels.
They're high heels.
But anyways, going on with that, from a corporate perspective, measuring out. But I've noticed a lot of executive management, they would video shame people. And when they would jump onto a call, and those first couple of meetings within, especially if there were large meetings and team meetings, they would take the first 30 seconds to call out, hey, just some housekeeping. Please mute your microphones, guys. I don't want to have to manage this meeting. There's like 25 people on the call. And they would start pinging their leaders. They would start pinging their management, their supervisors, be like, hey, Ben, where are you at? Your video's not on. Why isn't it on? And they would start doing that randomly. Obviously, they would talk with them before they did that. It says, hey, I'm going to ask you to turn your video on. But they would play those games to bring on adoption. Now, me as a product manager at an IT company or in an IT role, I would actually coach executive management to do that, to bring up video adoption, because they really wanted to bring in they wanted to bring in a video culture so they could supplement a lot of their meetings and bring down travel. That was a big mandate from their upper management. So those are just kind of small tidbits. Measure it out if you can, figure out how many people are turning on their cameras, do change management, market it, but then have executive buy-off. And when you have executive buy-off, that's a little bit of coaching on your side, in which you would ask them, hey, can you actually call people out a little bit? Prep them for it, but just let people know that's something that we want to do as a company culture.
And let me ask two things there, because I think that the person also mentioned, wish you had a green screen. I think that's something that you're going to start to see companies start to implement more as they know people are working from home, right? I mentioned earlier that budget. I really feel that you're going to see companies start to go, hey, our budget for these people that are going to be working from home is going to be X amount of dollars. And sometimes it's not going to be X amount of dollars. It's going to be, here's the case that we're shipping out with them that's going to have the camera that they're going to use, that's going to have the microphone that they're going to use, and going to have the green screen that's going to sit on their chair that they're going to use for their calls, right? I think you're going to start to see companies mandate that, especially when you have to work from home. If you're going to be working from home more than 20% of the time, they're going to start to want to make sure that you're looking as good as possible in that home environment. Carl, I got to ask you a technical question.
Yep.
About it. I'm old. I remember WebEx calls. I remember the early days of desktop collaboration. Do you remember when people would get a notice saying you're not paying attention to the screen?
Oh yeah.
Minimize the screen. How come nobody's ever brought that back to the UC world, right? Hey, you're not looking at the monitor. You're not paying attention to the camera. Yeah. Is that something that can be done? I mean, because obviously our cameras can detect where people are looking, what they're doing.
Well, that was actually more on your focused application, whether your application was selected and you weren't multitasking. And that's right. How usually they did it. So whether it was in the active window that was selected. but nowadays with I mean, usually with detection of where your eyes are at and stuff like that, can they bring that back? Maybe, but I don't think it'll be successful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those scenarios where, sometimes even when I'm working with customers and I'm coaching them and telling them on their change management, how they should actually market out to their internal video conferencing users, how they should place their cameras. Obviously, like right now, I got a Cam 130 in front of me. This camera is right in front of me, and I'm about arm's length away. But for some people, they need to be on a video call all day, every day, because they're part of let's just say, like an action and response team, and they got to have a hot wall up all the time. At that point, that's when I usually tell them, hey, do you know what? Set up a video conferencing unit to be kind of off to the side a bit, so you don't have to be staring at your screen all the time, and you could actually just reference it off to the side as if you're working with somebody right next to you.
Makes sense.
So in that type of scenario, that really does help out a bit, because like, my Cam 540 that I have, this one's off to the side, so I could talk and work with people. And then when I really want to focus and tell people something, hey, do this, do that, whatever, and then go back to my desk and kind of work there. So there's different ways that you can work it depending upon your style of conference calling and video calling. But it depends what kind of mode you're working in as well. So
It makes sense. And I only bring it up because back in the day when I used to do webinars, which was just kind of doing a presentation, everybody called in to listen and to watch your webinar. You get those messages. It would say these 5 people aren't paying attention to you. These 10 people are watching, right? So it would let you know what people are doing. So another question is pop up. Are there inexpensive cameras that allow you to zoom you in, so a normal distance sitting for my screen, I don't have so much of the background? That's something that we've actually implemented in a lot of our cameras. So what we've done with our cameras today is everybody talks about wide field of view. Everybody talks about 120-degree field of view. Everybody talks about trying to get as big of a picture as possible, because the thought process is then I can have more people to my side, right? I can have one person here, maybe one person over there, and it's able to see us all. That's the wide field of view. On the cameras that we've designed today, we now give you a lot of the options to where you can go, hey, I got a 120-degree field of view. That's awesome. Camera that I have right now is only an 86-degree field of view. You know why? Because I don't want to clean up anything outside of this box. I don't want to clean up that extra 30%, 30 degrees field of view that's out there. You don't need to see that, right? So a lot of cameras are out there today that will give you the option on what your field of view is. If you're simply looking for a camera in the market today that goes, I just want it to focus on me, go for a smaller field of view. Go for a sub 90-degree field of view. Right now, I am at an 86.5-degree field of view. Carl, on the, I know that they change it. So
yep,
86.5-degree field of view. So that gives you an idea of where I sit today, right? And right now I'm about, I don't know, 7 feet away from my camera, right? I actually have one of our Cam 520 Pros in my office right now. So the smaller the field of view, the better it tightens into you. And there's a reason why we did that, just so everybody knows. There really is a reason. We knew the cameras that we're making for work from home are also going to be used in huddle rooms and possibly even some small offices. So we want to give the end user the ability. If it's just you, 90-degree field of view, great, simple, it can frame you. I still have excess space that I really don't need, but I look normal here. If I did a 120-degree field of view, you'd barely see me, right? There'd be so much on either side of me that you'd be like, where the heck is Charlie?
yeah.
So we give you that option to pick that field of view. I think that's what people are looking for. It's how can I make sure that I look the best possible without having to make sure that all of this looks good? Because even then, a green screen's only going to help you so much. And that's where that 90-degree field of view helps, especially if you're a single person. So, so in saying that, obviously we talked a lot about work from home. We talked a lot about the smaller cameras. I still feel that we're going to and look at, I keep on telling everybody probably August, September timeframe right now is what I'm looking at for the big jump, is when you're going to see corporations start to really heavily invest in their UC platforms. What am I doing for my conference rooms? What am I doing for video conferencing? How am I connecting to people again? And how am I going to make sure that I have the availability to do it? Because I think one thing that that I'm definitely hearing quite a bit from people is they now know they need to engage a larger percentage of their conference rooms, right? They know the people in the rooms has to shrink. So they need to have more conference rooms. And I'm hearing two parts. And Carl, I'd love you to touch on this as well.
Mhm.
I've seen it. I get all kinds of data, all kinds of reports. And I read one that was actually really interesting. I apologize, I can't go into details on it, but I'll give everybody the gist of it. So really, this was about a 4-year study, a 4-year planning for the next 4 years on video conferencing and how rooms are going to be designed, right? And what they're going to change into. And you can see, I think they said today it's something like 10 or 15% of all conference rooms are either a Zoom room or Microsoft Teams room, something in that area. And you can see every year it's going to increase dramatically, right? To where at the end, it's going to be about 30-35% of the rooms are going to be Zoom or Microsoft Teams or something similar in nature, right? And what does that mean? That means that I have a dedicated PC in that room. It means I have a dedicated camera in that room. I have a dedicated audio equipment in that room, and I have a dedicated controller in that room. So when somebody walks into that room, all they need to do is sit down and push one button to dial the call. What I thought was interesting about this report was that it said still 4 years from now, well over 60% of the conference rooms will be bring your own device. So they'll have a camera. They'll have a speakerphone for you. They'll have audio for you. But you're still going to bring your laptop. And when I looked at that, I started to wonder why. And I asked a bunch of questions to some people. And the main thing that I got from asking those questions was that a lot of companies, while they might standardize on Zoom and on Microsoft or Ring Central, Google, whichever your pick is, that doesn't mean that their customers have standardized on that. Yeah. And it doesn't mean that they still don't have to be a part of calls that have other service providers attached to them, whether it be WebEx, whether it be Hangouts, whatever it may be. I may be a Zoom shop. I now got to make a Microsoft Teams call to be a part of it, right? So it was interesting for me to see that Microsoft and Zoom and all these room designs are going to continue to grow. And you're going to see AVer is going to continue to build to where we know that's a big part of our business. But all of us should still be prepared for a large segment of that to be bring your own processor. I'm bringing my own laptop, I'm plugging my USB into it, and now I'm able to take my call. Because that's the simplest form of video conferencing today. Because for an end user, all they need is a monitor, a camera, and a speakerphone. I bring my laptop in, I plug in, and I'm ready to go. That's still going to be the majority, according to this report, in the next 4 years. So I say that to everybody, and Carl, I'd love to hear if you got something to say on that as well. But I say that to everybody to make sure that you're aware of it. There's a lot that is still to be learned about the future of video conferencing. Carl, what do you think about that?
No, I think you're spot on with that as far as, bringing in your own processing power. I mean, for me, in a future standpoint, I mean, I'm still waiting for the time where we have our own Android drones that would, follow you like R2D2 and give up a hologram image. That would be awesome.
Before you say that, let me say this. When Carl came to AVer, I'm not going to mention the company that he was at, but the company that he was at had a robot that would roll up to his office, take his order, and then bring him stuff.
Well, you could order things through the app. You could order a sandwich and some juice and some, fruit and stuff like that. And a robot would actually bring it to you on campus and kind of, page you at the door, and you just go open the door and you're like, oh, there's my food, and kind of bring it up. So I told Charlie, like, hey, I'm going from a pretty good, well-established company that has this kind of technology, and all right, well, yeah, let's go have fun at AVer. So yeah, that's the kind of sacrifice I made for you, buddy.
Name another company that has robots that bring you food. They just don't. You just don't see that.
Exactly. Yeah. So
continue on, man.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're working at a large company, you could well have over 10,000 users at your disposal there that you have to provide services for. And you don't know what kind of meetings they're going to be invited to. You don't know what kind of meetings or platforms, you could be joining, whether it's like vendor training or just end user customers that you got to try to jump on the meetings with. So yes, having a BYOD type of solution, definitely you have to look out and consider. And there's some really great companies out there that are helping to be that middleman for that established connectivity. Because usually when you look at it, you could standardize off of like Lenovo laptops or HP laptops that has Windows 10 or whatever version that you're going to run for an OS. But there's always going to be a certain percentage that's going to come in that's going to be Mac OS or even Chrome OS. So having something in the middle there that could actually switch between all those types of operating systems, I think that's something that some companies are doing really great of, like Barco, for instance, with their ClickShare. So having those types of room layouts within your portfolio definitely needed. If you look at it from a campus perspective, campus standpoint. Now in the future, like what I said before, having an R2D2 unit kind of giving up a hologram image, that would be awesome. But I'm actually really curious. I want to start investigating mobile phone technology, coming in and not sacrificing your laptop, but using your phone for the connectivity or the powering of it. Because like you said, Qualcomm chipsets, pretty powerful now. And they actually do a great job, providing video streams and getting things, getting content and video presented to you. So.
Well, and folks, I wanted to end on this, and I wanted to bring this up because I think when I talk to a lot of resellers, when I talk to a lot of partners, everybody gets in that mindset: Zoom, 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 Microsoft, 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 Google, Google, Google. And if you don't ask your customers a question, if you don't talk to them, right? It's more than just, hey, it's more than just, hey, what platform you're planning to do? It really is, how are you going to support your users today? Great, you're going with Zoom. What's your plan for those users that have to jump on a call that might be Microsoft? How about Google? How about WebEx? How are they going to handle that? What's your plan, right? When I look at the people that are on this call today, most of you are value-added resellers and partners of ours. And it really is diving into that. What are the needs? Great, you're going to be a Zoom end user. Awesome, happy to help you with that. How about those calls that aren't Zoom? Right? If you deploy every one of your rooms with Zoom rooms, okay, great. What's going to be the backup for the times that you're not going to be able to use Zoom, right? If your CEO needs to jump on a Microsoft Teams call, how are you going to handle that? What's going to be your process? What are you going to do? Because I will tell you right now, AVer is a great example of this. We got a multitude of different platforms that we use. Multitude of it. There are times internally I'm on a Zoom call. There are times internally I'm on a Microsoft call. There are times that I'm on different providers' calls. We can do it all. We can do it all, right? With our cameras, with our speakerphones, we can plug and play and be ready to go, right? It's how do you do it? How do you build that room? How do you design that room? And how do you make sure your customer's aware of how to utilize it? So I actually just got another post. Almost 90% of the partners I work with need an agnostic option. Yep, exactly. Regardless of who the main squeeze is. This is an amazing topic. So glad you covered it. Yeah, folks, I think it's, once again, I feel at times we get too drawn into going, hey, Mr. Customer, you're only going to be Zoom. You're only going to be Microsoft. No, it's so much more than that. It really, yes, you're a Zoom partner. You're a Zoom customer. What are you going to do when it's not? Right? Got to be prepared for that. Right? And I just let everybody know, you guys are the value-added resellers. I'm gonna tell you right now, I ask the question when I jump on the calls. And people don't always like it. But I ask the question to make sure that the end user is aware of what's going to happen, what they can do, and what can take place. So I just want to make sure that you guys are all aware of as well. And once again, I will say this, I was blown away by that study. I really was. When I saw it, I had to look it over 3 different times because I thought the math was wrong. It's like, you're telling me that over 60% of conference rooms will still be BYOD. And it makes sense. When you really think about the big picture of it, it does make sense. But I don't think that's what we're thinking today. I don't think in our minds today we're thinking that way. I think we think it's gonna be flipped around. So, wow. We're almost 45 minutes in. This is one of our longer ones.
Yeah, exactly. Usually we would be wrapping it up right now. I'm like, all right, bye guys.
Yeah, thanks for and look at, we did it. There was no slide deck on this. Well, I love. See, these are the ones that I enjoy.
No embarrassing pictures of me. That's
No. I still got the worst headshot. I got the worst. I mean, look at. I get it. I'm losing my hair, but that picture of me, man, it makes me look like. So,
yeah.
with that, I want to thank you all for jumping on the call today. We really wanted just to give you guys an overview of what we're seeing in the marketplace today. And I think we covered a lot of it with you guys, right? Work from home, still going to be a big part of it. Still going to be a big part of it. You're going to see companies invest more in work from home. They're going to make sure their employees look good when they're doing work from home. Conference rooms, they're going to come back. They're going to be in different flavors. They're going to be designed differently, and they're going to have different needs, right? But they're still going to be there. And you're going to see a lot of the sound bars take place. You're going to see a lot of the traditional cameras take a part of it, right? But they're still going to be there, and you're going to see us all come out with more AI feature sets, and AVer is going to be at the forefront of that. AI technology is really going to help us out in that. And then finally, once again, don't always just think it's the Zoom or Microsoft world. There's going to be a lot of conference rooms that are BYOD, right? According to one study, over 60% of them in 4 years are still going to be BYOD. How do you handle that? How do you take care of that? How do you make sure your customers got everything they need to take care of that type of room? So a lot of great information, folks. I want to thank everybody for taking the time today to join us. Please, if you have any questions, anytime, feel free to message Carl, message me. I'm happy to answer any questions. Amy and Christine, our marketing team, thank you for putting this on today.